good morning again, everybody. Dave Nemo with you as we move on down the line. And it's good to welcome Tim Aschoff to the program, president of Schaefer, COO of Crete. And, first off, Happy New Year, and then Happy Anniversary, Tim.
Well, thank you very much. Happy New Year to you as well, Dave. And it is a great year for us here at Crete, celebrating our 50th anniversary.
1966 means a lot to me personally. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but that's the year I graduated from high school. So Crete Carrier goes back to 1966. Hard to believe, 50 years have passed. The actual anniversary date, though, doesn't come until summertime, huh?
Yeah, we were incorporated back in June of 1966, and so that's the official birth date. But we will be celebrating all year long. It's a great milestone and something that we want to recognize and really share with our team and our people throughout the country. And to do that, we need to go beyond one day.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's why we're talking about it now here in January. So let's go back to June of 1966. Well, I guess even a little bit further than that because you don't start on the day. So there's a lot of work to put a company together. Maybe you'll walk us through some of that very early history.
Sure, and as you might imagine, as with any company over the years, it starts out small, and it starts out with a person, and we had a person that had started our company by the name of Ken Norton, who at that time had wanted to find authority to haul dog food out of an Alpo plant in Crete, Nebraska, and was able to get that authority back in the regulated days, was able to obtain 6 trailers, and started with 6 trailers and authority to haul dog food, and was able to find a couple of owner-operators and get things going in a little office above a creamery in a small town of Crete, Nebraska, and that's how we got started.
Wow, from humble beginnings, but serving and finding, but that model is the one thing that is consistent throughout U.S. history. You see a need, you have the desire, you figure out a way to fill that need.
Absolutely, and that's obviously the American way here in free enterprise. But not everyone is successful in doing that. There's I think sometimes statistics as many as 4 out of 5 new small businesses don't make it. So beyond seeing that need, you have to have the right. Really a lot of right things, but it all comes down to the right people. And certainly from the beginning days, we had the right person to get us started and hire a couple of the right people to get that going. And then obviously at that time have the right owner operators. If the person's sitting in the office getting the loads and getting them from Alpo at that time and getting the trailers, get them on the trailers, if we didn't have the right owner operators to get them moving reliably, that we would have failed from the beginning. And that really has been the cornerstone of our growth from those 6 trailers up to our 13,000 trailers today, is having the right people. And that's the people that are out on the road for us, and those that are not out on the road, but here in the office, in our shops, our sales team, and then certainly finding the right customers was so important as well.
We have not seen change come almost on a monthly basis in this industry like it is now. But going back through the decades, Tim, there have been some significant changes through the years. Most of them, not bunched up together like they are now, but there have been some big things. 1966, Vietnam is going on. A lot of folks are leaving the country. A lot of folks are coming back. When I started in trucking radio in 1972, it was hard to find somebody who hadn't been in the military or had a family member, even going back to Korea, World War II. The component of trucking was really military based at that time. But then you've had other big changes as well. We had the Arab oil embargo in the mid 70s. That really had an impact on trucking overall. A lot of flaming hoops, so to speak, sometimes literally, to go through in those days. What are some of the things through the decades, in those earlier decades especially, Tim, has the company had to, some of the hurdles that the company has gone through over, and how has the company adapted over the years to changes within the industry?
Well, we do look back often, and so when we talk about the good old days, and we have a tendency to remember things that changed or maybe didn't go right. But there's also a lot of good things that go right too during those times, and obviously that was good for us and many other companies that have survived. But there are changes that, in some ways, that aren't a lot different from today. In that, if you look at what are the industry's challenges, and what were they back then? Well, you can start with, to your point, having the good and the right drivers, and where do we get those from? We've kind of circled full circle again, where we have a lot of good former military drivers coming back into the industry, and we try to help with that as a company. Equipment is always a big thing. We joke with some of our longer term drivers. They talk about the good old days, and we said, well, you want to go back to having no power steering and sleeper berth, 3 feet wide, and those types of things. So we've had some really good changes in equipment. Continue to have those, equipment changes. Sometimes I know we think, well, is it for the better, or is it for the not? But we continue to evolve that way. Your regulatory changes, it's a different type of regulatory change now that may impact us. Back then we were regulated. You had to have authority. You had to get a backhaul. You might have had to find a right partner authority to do trip leasing or other things. Now we see maybe more regulation on the safety side, and have to work through what that means for us. But then one thing I think we have always tried to do as a company is try not to, I'll call it, make too big of changes or knee-jerk reactions to the change. We're always going to have change, but if we don't have a sort of a constant, steady outlook and work through that, try to work through how we can use the change to make us better, you won't survive. And I think that has been, I mentioned earlier, people's a big part of it, but then it's that leadership we've had in saying, okay, we have to accept change. It's going to be out there, and let's see what we can do to do our best to get through it.
I'm kind of a big fan of adages, Tim, and one of them I remember from my high school years. I had seen something called Adapt or Die. And, it was about military and how the military had to adapt to changing conditions in those days, where the guerrilla warfare coming out of, Korea and World War II, a completely different aspect. Coming out of the Civil War, going into World War I, you had to adapt to modern mechanized cavalries and things like that. Adapt or die. So I think you make a real good point there. I think that three-letter bumper sticker, though, sounds a little harsh, but that's the reality of it, as you say. Kind of down a different avenue, but 4 out of 5 small companies don't make it. Is the lack of ability to stay ahead of the curve and adapt to changing landscapes, if you will, regulatory or not, that is something that you've really got to be able to go with, not necessarily go with the flow, but almost stay ahead of the flow in many cases. You guys have stayed ahead by doing some interesting things and unique things. We say Crete Carrier Corporation, but that does include Schaefer on the reefer side, Hunt on the flatbed side, obviously Crete on the dry van. Tim, how, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this, coming up to the anniversary, and you're going to be talking a lot about the company and history now, of course, on this landmark occasion. But how has this helped the success of Crete to actually get to a 50th anniversary?
Well, it's helped us in different ways at different times. We acquired back in the early 70s is when we had acquired a number of the other, I call it operating divisions of the company. You mentioned Schaefer Trucking. We acquired them back in 1974, but that company had been around since 1937, so it has a lot of longevity. And we had at the same time acquired another, or relatively same time, another refrigerated carrier called Sunflower Carriers. And some of that at that time wasn't necessarily as much as out of a need to grow, but with the regulatory environment at the time, with having authority, it was how do we get backhauls. We were hauling a lot of things out of the Midwest, and Schaefer Trucking at the time was a strong East Coast carrier, hauling stuff to the Midwest, and not being able to go out like we are today and solicit and find backhauls as freely because you had to have authority to haul a commodity. We helped provide some synergies through those acquisitions at that time, and over the years, then, as you mentioned, adapt as it became deregulation. We had those different companies, and we were able to say, how can we work with those different companies and brands to make us stronger as a whole? And that's evolved today, where certainly there are some great economies of scale when you operate some things together and have some good purchasing power from equipment or otherwise. But probably most importantly is that we began then to focus on our customer base, and that customer base primarily being consumer packaged goods, foodstuffs, and some other retail and related items. And so many of those customers need both a dry and temperature controlled offering. And so having both the Schaefer temperature controlled offering and the Crete dry van offering, we can provide some great services to customers that need those multiple offerings, help them be more of a one-stop shop, and then certainly provide some flexibilities for our drivers, where in different instances, some parts of the country we may have more refrigerated freight than more dry, or vice versa, where we can kind of mix and match at times and keep our drivers moving. So it's really been helpful to both us internally to have those multiple offerings and to our customers. And then in the 90s, we added the purchase of Hunt Transportation, and in order to provide that open deck specialized portfolio offering in our portfolio, and become that really well-rounded carrier for those certain customers that have all those needs. And we look at Crete being 50. Our oldest company is actually Hunt Transportation. In next year, in 2017, we'll be celebrating the 90th anniversary of Hunt Transportation.
Wow. That is incredible. It really is. We've talked a little bit more about the externals of the company, but let's kind of go behind the curtain here. If you can picture, I'm going to ask our listeners to picture a computer desktop or a laptop, tablet, and you have folders. In those folders, you have files. If the folder was called Company Culture, and you double-clicked on that, you'd see some principles in there, some files called principles. Let's talk through some of those principles and talk about the internal aspect of the company, Tim.
Yeah, we do live by what we call our 7 principles, and before I start kind of getting into that, it goes back to really what is the heart of our success has been, our culture, and that culture is created first by our company owners, and as I mentioned before, we were founded in 1966. Just 5 years later, actually the person who founded the company from a legal standpoint was Mr. Dwayne Ackley. He was an ICC attorney at the time. Did the creation of the company from a legal aspect for Mr. Norton. 5 years later, Mr. Norton wanted to sell and move back to the West Coast, and Mr. Ackley purchased the company. And what's been a real benefit to us is for the 45 years following, Mr. Ackley and his family has owned the company. We have our current CEO, Ton Ostergaard, part of that family, and what they have focused on is really ensuring that we as a company have that right culture, that company culture, that we are family, that we show respect for each other. So we enunciate that culture in our 7 principles, as you mentioned, and they're pretty straightforward, but there's a lot more when you get behind them. Our first one is safety first and foremost, pretty self-explanatory. The second one is we say what we mean, and we mean what we say. And we've found that that's very valuable, that we are very open and honest with each other, and that we're open and honest with our drivers, with our customers, and that's the good true sign of a true good culture that can understand and work with each other. Along those lines, our third principle is we're ethical. We always want to do the right thing, even when people aren't watching, which throughout the years and in different industries, but potentially maybe in trucking, given some of the things in the past, that was a very important thing to us, as sometimes that wasn't necessarily the practices and throughout time of many in different industries. We say we follow the road less traveled, and that means we want to stress long-term performance over short-term gain. And again, I go back to being family-owned, privately held here. One of the cornerstones of our success is that as the family that owns the company was successful, all of our success went back into the company, and we became debt-free very, very early on. From 1974 till now, we've been debt-free, and that has helped us adapt and manage through that change and make decisions for the long term. And certainly it's paid off getting us to 50 years in that we could get through those ups and downs and not worry about having, are we going to be able to pay for our equipment or make payroll? We haven't had any of those challenges. We can focus on what's the right change. We do say we want to strive to be the best trucking company in the country, not necessarily the biggest, but the best in what we do. That's a little different. Sometimes, we hope that being the best can help us grow and make great opportunities for our employees and obviously then serve our customers. But our goal just simply isn't to be the biggest. Our sixth principle is we exercise mutual respect, and as you can see, there's a common theme here about really at the end of the day, moving into our overall company motto of there are no shortcuts. It's how we treat each other, how we act, how we operate as a company in a way that we can all leave and go home at the end of the day feeling good about what we've done that day. And then, maybe the most important one for this year and for different times, our final principle number 7 is we have fun. Trucking's not a walk in the park. It's a challenging business. But it's also a business that's very rewarding, and we got to remember to step back and have fun at what we do and have fun. Try to have that fun each and every day, and celebrate those successes, those milestones like we are this year.
Well, you know what? We touched on the fact that it's not a one-day celebration in June, but it's a year-long celebration for the 50th anniversary. What are some of the things that you guys got cooking?
Well, certainly, the most important part for the celebration is our people, and so we're doing some things every month to recognize our people, to recognize the anniversary, and at each of our 15 plus locations across the country, we're doing monthly little celebrations throughout the year, and then we're going to have the big celebration here in Lincoln in June. But we're going to go out and have celebration events at each of our terminals throughout the 12 months of the year, provide mementos and some historical things to our employees to remind them of some of the things that we've just talked about this morning of how we developed over the years. And really, want to point back and thank the people that are here because we wouldn't be celebrating these 50 years if it wasn't for all of our people. And certainly it takes not only our people, but it takes having good customers as well. So we also are going to do some things to make sure our customers recognize that we appreciate all they've done for them. And I mentioned we started with authority to haul dog food out of Nebraska, and we're so proud that that Alpo dog food plant, just about 15 miles from where I'm sitting right now, is still a customer of ours. So we've had that same customer for 50 years, and we have a lot of many other great customers that we've had for many, many years. So it's really celebrating that combination of what trucking companies have to do every day, have the right people to be able to serve the right companies and do a quality job of getting that done.
If anything can sum up, and there's so many things that you could pick out of a hat, but if anything can sum up the success, the stability, just the attitude of a company, to be able to say that we still have the same customer that we started with 50 years ago, that speaks volumes and then some, Tim. It really does.
It does because, as you mentioned, things change. Things not only change with us in our industry, but it changes with that customer. And for us to have that relationship, to have that level of trust in each other, that we both can grow and be successful together for 50 years is really an accomplishment, and we're proud of that, and we certainly hope the customers that have been with us along the way are proud of that. And then we're certainly, grateful for the people we have. We don't have any original 50-year long employees with us, but we have a number in the 40s with us. And if it also wasn't for those people that have been with us since nearly the beginning, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for sharing some insight. When you and I talk, we generally stay away from talking about, Crete, Schaefer, Hunt so much and talk about the industry at large and what's going on here. But we really wanted to kind of zero in on you guys here this morning on the kickoff of the 50th anniversary year of Crete Carrier Corporation, Crete, Schaefer, and Hunt. And many happy returns, Tim. We're looking forward to our visit in February.
Well, thank you very much, and do appreciate the recognition of the company, and really, again, just want to thank all the people who've been involved at Crete with Crete Carrier one time or another. We know we have a lot of people that over the years have come and gone for one reason or another, but we just want to know that we're proud of everyone who's been a part of the organization, and send out a real heartfelt thank you to all of you for helping us be successful.
Tim Aschoff, everybody. Crete Carrier Corporation.